All right, welcome to Path of the Jedi, the podcast where Star Wars meets personal development. My name is Ronnie Cruz, your host for this sorrowful adventure. Yep, sorrowful adventure, guys. It's been a difficult last few days, and so I'm gonna discuss today what has happened for me in my life, and for some of you, well, it's the topic that I want to discuss is processing and handling grief. Um, this is personal development, right? Like it's something that we all at some point, I think, if you haven't faced, you will face in your life. And so, yeah, I think it helps to talk about it. It helps to get perspective. And, this podcast is as much for me as it is for you guys, if not more so, right? If not more so. It does serve for me or it can and does serve for me as my sounding board and a place to kind of not air out, but to um, relieve myself of a burden by sharing with you if there are ever any burdens that are weighing me down. And right now, grief is that thing. So we'll get back to Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5. That was what we were scheduled to talk about and discuss today. Um, I don't have the energy to do it, to be honest. And so I think the what I can muster up is just talking about how I'm feeling, what I've been through, and how I'm feeling, in hopes that the perspective can help you guys in case that you ever have to experience loss and grief. Um, so yeah. This is going to be really kind of a vulnerable episode for me, because I don't really like to talk about things like that, generally, even to myself, because it's just not a fun place to be. I don't like to be in this headspace. However, again, it I think can serve as to a degree can serve a little bit of solace and therapy for me, and then hopefully serve you guys in case you guys ever experience grief and loss in your life. Um, which the nature of life, it's inevitable, right? Like at some point or another we all face loss, and I recently so as of this recording, this past Sunday lost one of my dogs passed away. And I know it sounds silly, to be talking about a pet, and how much grief I'm experiencing. But you know what? It is what it is. I honestly didn't expect to go through as much grief as I'm experiencing right now. Um, but I am very close with my dogs. I have 5 dogs. My sister and I have 5 dogs, and they are our lives. I don't have kids. We're both single, and the dogs are 100% our attention. We live and work at home, so they're with us. They're companions every day, 24 hours a day. And so you develop that attachment, develop that bond, you get used to their presence and their energy, and their company. And I know that, again, the inevitabilities that they will someday leave. um, it's never easy to face. It's never easy to face. As I've been experiencing these painful emotions, um, and guys, typically I don't do well. I haven't done well with grief. It is not. Well, I mean, I don't think anybody can say that it's an emotion and an experience that anybody's comfortable with. But I like it. The pain, I feel it very intensely, and so I'm going through all of this, and also I've been trying to really be observant of it as well, because I know that I process and I feel these pains very intensely. I want to be observant of how I'm experiencing it, so that any way I can help myself, outside of self medication. Full transparency. I have been drinking a lot more these last few days than I normally would. Um, I have found that it helps. I found that it helps. Um, so there, I'm there's that level of self awareness, which I do talk about here on the show. Having self awareness of your mental and emotional states, the conversations that you're having with yourself, anything that might trigger those emotional states, right? So I'm being very, very observant of that, and so what I have observed, I want to share with you guys again, just to share with you my experience, and also, hopefully it can provide you guys some sort of perspective in case you ever have to go through loss. And it doesn't, of course, this is a conversation that goes beyond pets. We lose our loved ones, family, whether there's family, close friends, people that we love in our lives. That is just a part of life. The impermanence of it, of the life itself, it's something the grief of loss, the pain of loss, is something that we all have to experience. So what I've noticed is, of course, the memories trigger deep sorrow, right? Like, it's unavoidable, and I try to divert my attention. So that's number one, right? And not that I'm avoiding being sorrowful, or I'm not avoiding my grief. I just don't like feeling that way, right? And so I do my best not to distract myself, right? To divert my attention. So it's been tough. Running, of course, always helps. Movement. Well, I've been playing that freaking solitaire game on my phone, which it's hilarious. I don't recommend it because it's just a big time waster. But for me, I have time to waste. So things like that. Well, because the brain can easily, and maybe the mechanism wants me to process the grief and keep remembering the stuff, so I get it out of my system. But I really don't. I don't want to do that, right? Like, I don't want to just be sorrowful and crying all day, right? So If I can avoid going through those, and not ignoring the memories, but it's just too fresh right now, right? It's too fresh. So yeah, the distraction has helped a lot. Um, that said, I haven't gotten much sleep because nighttime is really when it's the least fun. The emotions are for me strong in the evening. Towards the latter half of the day. I was doing pretty okay today for the first half of the day, and I've just kind of been losing it the second half, which is why I'm talking about it right now on the show, on this recording, because I can't. It's so hard to muster up any energy for anything else right now, except just to be with my emotions and be with my grief. The second observation is that it does come in waves, right? It does come in waves. And I like, as much as I want to rush through those waves and get to the end of it, where it subsides, there's no timing of it, right? Like, you can't control how long a wave of grief and sorrow washes over you. You just have to sit with it, right? You just have to sit with it. I've tried to force it out and to push it out and to push it away and to ignore it, but it just intensifies. So if you are feeling grief, just sit with it and allow it. Know it's that it will that wave will pass, and you just got to get through, right? And so that's what I've pretty much done these last 2 days since his passing, is just sit through every wave of sorrow and grief, and let it be as much as possible. Let it be as much as possible. Again, the more I fight it, the stronger. The more I try to fight it, the stronger it gets. Um, Obviously, reach out to people if you're experiencing grief right now. Uh, I'm not one to really broadcast, especially on the social feeds, what I'm going through, which is such a weird thing to say, knowing that I'm talking about this on my podcast. Well, because I'm connected with a lot of people I know personally on those feeds, and I don't necessarily, want to broadcast certain things. All right. For this show, it's pretty anonymous. I mean, I don't really know the majority of you guys personally that are listening, so it's easier to talk about things like this. But that said, even though I don't broadcast, there's those handful of people that are close to me and that I appreciate and that I let into certain parts of my life who I have reached out to me. You know what I mean? And just a message here and there, once a day from somebody, makes a huge difference. It really makes me feel better. I mean, we live very isolated. I tell you guys that a lot. We live out in the middle of nowhere. So again, we're home. It's just my sister and I and the dogs, and it's like you can't escape it, right? And we're not close to anybody else. I know we're only a phone call away, but again, I'm not a sharer like that. I'm not one just to sit on the phone and talk to people about how I feel. But a message here and there, reaching out. If you are, you should, yeah, reach out to people and get that support from your support system, because it helps. It helps when just even having their presence over the telephone, even, right, or FaceTime. Having the presence helps. It just you feel like you're not carrying the burden alone, right? You feel like it definitely feels that you feel like you're the weight that you're carrying, the grief that you're carrying, is being supported by the people that love you, and in reality, it is the truth, right? People have been very kind and supportive, and they feel the pain, and they understand the pain that my sister and I are going through. So reach out to people. Yeah, reach out to people if you're going through pain of loss, the people that you care about, and be willing to take time off, right? This is me doing work, but it's time off from actually working, because I'm just sharing my feelings. I'm just sharing my experience right now. I'm not, analyzing and dissecting Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5, and crafting the show flow and everything like that, and the points that I have to make. This is me taking time off, honestly, but still wanting to get an episode out to you guys. So be willing to take some downtime. I know for jobs and careers, most workplaces do give time off for deaths in the family, or bereavement and things like that. So be willing to do that. Um, yeah, it's important. It's important because it's hard to function unless doing your day to day is something that helps you keep your mind distracted. You know what I mean? If that's what you want to do, that's okay too. But for me, I need just to not, like, I can make, well, because it takes so much energy and effort to when I'm going through these kinds of times and emotional states, it's a lot. It takes a lot out of me. It really does. And so trying to do work, it's just, it's a chore. It is a chore. So I've done minimal as far as like having to juggle my usual workload, and it's all about self-care, right? Allowing myself to grieve, right? I think that's the most important thing. Allowing myself to grieve, even though I don't want to, even though it's so incredibly painful. Those waves, like I said, they dissipate. A wave will come in, and a wave will go out, right? It's the ebb and flow. It's like the ocean, right? That's why, it's exactly what it is. So just allow yourself that. If you're going through loss, allow yourself the grief, and know that it will come in waves. Easier to handle if you have support around you. Um, in the times when there's not a wave of grief, um, yeah, keep yourself occupied with easy distractions, simple distractions. Netflix has been, Netflix is always a good friend. Disney Plus is always a good friend, and so like that kind of distraction can be helpful, um, just so that you don't have to think or work too hard. You know what I mean? So yeah. That's kind of where I'm at, guys. And again, I appreciate you indulging me and letting me share this on this episode on the show. It's not really, again, something that I intended. Like, this show is definitely not a vlog, like, type of show. Well, not vlog, but you know what I mean. It's not like a audio diary or a documentation of my life necessarily. But I do want to share this part with you because it is a personal development. It is something. Loss and grief is something that we all experience and or will experience if you haven't yet. And so, yeah, trying to manage and handle it and process it the best we can. Yeah. Well, even at the very least, knowing that, hearing that somebody else is going is going through grief, right? Almost can help you carry that burden, right? Oh, well, it's like, I'm not the only one that goes through grief. You know what I mean? So, yeah. If this helps you, yeah, or if you know somebody that's going through grief, going through loss, you can share this with them. Um, Again, yeah, there's not much really we can do about grief and loss other than allow it, sit with it, let yourself process it, and all the other tools that, or all the other things that I've shared with you today, right? So thank you guys again. Thank you all, you beautiful listeners, for allowing me this space. We will be back next week with Kenobi. I should be okay with getting back on regular track, but we'll follow up next week on Kenobi Part 5, and there's lots of Star Wars coming. I mean, Light and Magic, everybody's screaming about. I've been off of social media for the most part, but lately, but I'm hearing about Light and Magic. I know Andor is coming out pretty soon, so there's going to be lots to continue to talk about. But before we get to all that, we're definitely gonna finish off with finish out Kenobi. So I think we have 2 more episodes of Kenobi before we move on. So. We'll see you next week, guys. Thank you again for tuning in, and thank you for allowing me the space to share, and to use this as as my 20 minutes of therapy. So we'll catch you next week. Until then, be well, be safe, and may the Force be with you, for light and life.